listen to those words at some point. They're fabulous. Now, I do want to tell you my word tonight as I sat there and experienced this celebration with you guys. The word that came to me was favor. And I just know this is a room full of favor. God has blessed you because of the mantle of leadership that you fall under. You are favored. Does that make you feel good? It should. How exciting. Congratulations to all the winners. Congratulations on being a record breaker. That's amazing. Fabulous. Well, tonight I get to tell you my story, and everybody has a story, so it always seems kind of funny to me that, we stand and tell our stories because you all have a story to tell, right? And so you'll have an opportunity one day when you become a sales director, when you become a national sales director. How many in here want to become national sales directors? Woohoo! Wow. That's fabulous. And I think that is a divine calling. So if that seed is planted in your heart, believe that it is planted there by the good Lord. That's what I believe. Well, my story started 24 years ago, and actually really 29 years ago. My mother went to a skincare class. That's what we were calling them then, skincare classes. And she was invited to a skincare class by a sister-in-law, one of my sister-in-laws. And at that skincare party, this is a great tip for everyone in this room. The director that did the party said, who do y'all think at the class today would be the next great Mary Kay beauty consultant? Mary Kay always says there's one new beauty consultant at every party. Who do y'all think that is? And they all pointed to my mom. Now what's funny about that, though she was gorgeous, absolutely, inside and out, she was very, very shy. And when we would travel around together, people would talk to my mom, ask her questions, and she would look at me and I would answer. And that's how shy she was. She could not stand up and say her name. She had been a stay-at-home mom for all of her whole life. She was an artist, and she loved that. But she was very, very shy. So she came home and she asked my dad what he thought, and my dad said, "I think that's great." She asked me what I thought, and I said, "It's wonderful." And I thought to myself, her and the little white-haired ladies will have a great time together. And that's what my opinion was of Mary Kay at that point. Well, so what I didn't know was that she was going to turn her attention to me. And that I would become her most excited that she was about recruiting. And so she began to talk to me about it. And the very first year that she went to seminar, how many of you have been to seminar? Life-changing, exciting. And so when she came home from seminar, she didn't even need that plane. She came home and she really went to work on me. And she began to talk about how fabulous Mary Kay was and how I just had to go to seminar with her, had to be a part of it. There was a fashion show. I was into fashion. She knew that would be fabulous for me. And she just had this vision. Here is a very shy, quiet woman with an unbelievable vision. So I don't know who all is in this room tonight, but I don't care what you think. You have no idea how that one person, can impact someone's life. And that person will impact other lives. And so she had this huge vision, and the vision was that she saw me on the stage as a national sales director. And she would not rest until I signed up. So she began to bug me, and for 4 years she was relentless. And every year when she went to seminar, I would think, oh my gosh, I can't wait till her excitement goes away. And I get my mother back. It'll take about a week, sometimes 2, but she'll be back. And so anyway, finally, 4 years in, I said, all right, Mom, I'll sign up. I'll probably be the only one that ever signs up for you, but I'll sign up. And I went to 3 meetings that year. Are y'all excited about that? And I took my little boy, who was 4 at the time. That's right, 4. And we sat at the back of the room and we talked and colored, and I would have thrown me out. I don't know why the director didn't. But anyway, that was my start. Well, at the end of the first year, let me tell you this too. My dad bought my showcase, and he bought my inventory. Can you tell I'm excited? And so I quickly quickly, I don't know how word leaked out, but it did. And people found out that I was selling Mary Kay, and they began to buy the products. And so I sold it off real quickly. And once I was through, I thought, well, that's good. That's over. I don't have to do that anymore. Product's gone, and, you know, that's it. If I wanted to do it, I could, but I don't want to, so I'm done. And at the end of the first year, they were going to, you know, cancel my contract because if you don't order in a year, well, you're out, right? So my mom said, well, Roxanne, before you're out, do me one more favor and go to seminar with me. And I said, Mom, if I go to seminar with you, will you please never talk to me about Mary Kay again? And she said, I promise. And so I said, will you shake on it? And we did. So that morning, I show up at the airport late. They literally, my director was standing in the plane going, I promise she's coming. When I got there, she was waiting in the doorway of the airplane. And so that's how excited I was. I landed in Dallas as the most negative consultant to ever hit Dallas turf. And my director was very sick sense of humor. She groomed me with Mary Kay Maniac. I mean, like the lady in our unit that was so excited about Mary Kay, she couldn't stand herself. Her eyes were about this big around, and they bugged out of her head every time she talked about Mary Kay. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is going to be a great 3 days. Thank God my mom was in there. But anyway, she about had a coronary when I walked in the room and threw my Clinique up on the counter. I was allergic to Mary Kay, you guys. I couldn't wear it. Seriously, for the first 6 years, I could not wear any of the product. And in fact, I was on Mary Kay's stage, the second runner-up, without being able to wear the product. So it doesn't matter. What I could tell was that other people wore it well. And nobody asked me. But anyway, so here I am. I'm at this seminar, and not kidding you, this is how crazy she was. She saw Mary Kay in the elevator, and you would have thought it was Elvis. Because she came in the room, and she flipped across the bed in her skirt. Ah, I saw Mary Kay. I thought she had fainted. And so I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So anyway, the very first night, I had a national. Her name was Mickey Ivy, and she was fabulous. And she had an event that night, an awards event, some recognition, and she was giving away some fabulous prizes. And so we went to this event, and all the way there, people were stopping me going, are you a national? Are you a national? I thought, how did my mother get all these plants to ask me that? I don't even know what a national was. It's a true story. But they began to plant this seed, see, right back here. So anyway, we get to Mickey Ivy's event, and I watch all these women begin to cross the stage. Some were fat, some were skinny, some were cute, some were not. Right? Okay, we're honest, right? And I thought, well, if I wanted to do that, I could. I don't want to, but if I wanted to, I could do that. Because remember what Amy said to you tonight? You're going to sit there and you're going to watch somebody, maybe me, and you're going to think, if she can do it, so can I. And that's what I was thinking as I sat there and watched that recognition. So by the end of the night, I had this little burn right here in my gut. And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope that is gone in the morning. Maybe that's indigestion. And I did not tell anybody, not a soul, nobody knew. And the next morning we get up and we go to Mary Kay's big opening, grand opening. How many of you were ever at a Mary Kay seminar when Mary Kay entered the stage? How many? Stand up if you were ever in the room when Mary Kay entered the room. Three of us. We must keep the dream alive. Amen. We've got to tell our stories. In fact, tonight in your room, let's do some of that. I have some stories about Mary Kay. Fabulous. I cannot remember how she entered the stage. Because sometimes, seriously, she came out in a carriage and horses. She might come from the ceiling. She might come from the floor. I mean, you just never knew. So I don't remember the way she entered the stage that day. I just know that she was there, and the room exploded the crowd went crazy. There was 10 to 12,000 women in the room, and they were all screaming so loud you couldn't even hear yourself think. I mean, I've been to rock and roll concerts. I felt like I needed to put my lighter on. And seriously, it was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. And I want to say 5 minutes, but I'm going to say 3, okay? They did not sit down. And when she started to speak, it was like I was the only one in the room, and she was speaking right into my heart. And I started crying. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? It must be hormones or something, this can't be happening. And I quickly dried up so that nobody would know, but all I knew was that she got me that morning. So, the last night of seminar, some of you may have been there, Kathy Halou and her leading ladies were crowned the queen of the seminar, 1.6 million in sales. Now, this was a long time ago, guys. 1.6 million. It was a company record. Confetti fell from the sky. The lights swirled around. The music got louder. They put a crown on her head. She was wearing a gold gown. She looked beautiful. They put a crown on her head. They put flowers in her arms. This was before animal activists. And they put a big, long fur coat on her and a ring on her finger. Brought her family on stage, her husband and her 2 little girls. And her little girls, Sydney and Jordan. Jordan's now, top sales director with our company. Anyway, Sydney took the microphone from Mary Kay and sang her ABCs. Aww. And Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And Mary Kay led her. And then Jordan said, oh, Mary Kay, thank you for letting my mommy be the queen, because now we get a swimming pool. They've given out a $5,000 bonus check for hitting million. And a trip to Greece. And Kathy sat on the throne after they waltzed her around like Miss America. She sat down on the throne and tears were slipping out of her eyes. And Daniel, her husband, said, Mary Kay, I don't know if you know Kathy's story, or people in the audience know Kathy's story. Do you mind if I tell it? And she said, sure. And he said, well, Kathy had been in a mental institution for a psychiatric ward for anorexia. And she was losing her battle with the disease. And her doctor called Daniel and said, Daniel, you got to come and get her. You got to take her and get her interested in something besides fixating on this disease. And so he did. He took her, they lived in Toledo, Ohio. He took her out to California. He got her on several game shows, and one of them was The Price is Right. Some of you may have seen that by now. The clip with her. She's a skinny little hippie-looking chick. And anyway, she's on there, and she's up to win a car, and she misses it by a few numbers, and she goes home with the booby prize, which is a Mary Kay showcase. Can you believe that? Went home with a showcase. And so, a director began to call her, and she kept ignoring the call, and Daniel kept he'd read the information, and he thought, oh my gosh, this is great. And he really could see the vision of this business for her. So he'd put the information by her bed, stand at night, and she would throw it away. And then he would put it by her coffee in the morning, and she'd throw it away. And this went on for a while. And finally she went to a meeting. She took a friend in case she didn't want to do the makeup when she got there. She went as a model, your second tip for the night so far. She went as a model, a makeup model. And she went to this meeting, and by the time she left, she was a signed-up consultant. And her and Daniel built this business side by side as a couple for like 13 years to that point. And he said, Mary Kay, it changed our lives. It saved her life. It took the focus off of her and it put it on other people. And she began to get well. And he said, but when she was in that psychiatric ward, to keep her going, I would call and I would sing to her. So is it okay if I sing to my queen and my wife tonight? And he sang Lady from Kenny Rogers. And we swam out of the auditorium. I don't think there was a dry eye in the place. And I went home and told my husband, I want you to sing to me on stage, and he wouldn't, so that was him. But anyway. Well, there was more to it than that. But anyway. So I did not need the airplane. I flew home. I was so excited. And within 7 days, I had recruited 7 women. I had given 3 of them away to my mother. I didn't understand the marketing plan. You need to understand your marketing plan. But I was so excited and so grateful for this opportunity. And I always told Mom, you know, you birthed me once into life, and you birthed me again into Mary Kay, and I'm forever grateful for that. And so then we began our journey, and there's been a lot of ups and downs and all arounds, both personally and professionally. But I can tell you I would not want to be anywhere else in any other company but right here where I'm at. And you're here by divine appointment tonight. You really are. And I believe there's no accidents in who comes into this business. So anyway, I began my journey, and along the way, you know, I had my youngest son was 4, my oldest son was 6, and I, you know, have to tell you that our life changed when they were about 10. I think they were 10 and 12 when I became single again, and then I was single for, you know, 16, 17 years. And I raised them on my own, and had to, you know, I was the full-time breadwinner for us. And I bought their cars, and they were new cars, because I was afraid that if I didn't buy a new car and it broke on us, I couldn't fix it. So, you know, I was able to buy cars for my sons when they turned 16. I was able to send them to college. Keegan has a double degree from Texas Christian University. That's not cheap. That's Mary Kay. Thank you very much, you know, for paying for that college education. Tyson was a bull rider, and not that I wanted him to be, but they learn things, okay? Your children are going to learn things. I'll never forget when Tyson came to me and he said, Mom, he was 12. He said, I really want to ride bulls. And I said, that's fine. He said, no, really, I really want to ride bulls, and there's a school, I've already looked it up on the internet, and here's the details, and they're going to be in town this weekend, such and such, and you need to sign up by this day. And I said, no. And he said, well, you haven't even thought about it. And I said, I just did. And he said, no, I really want you to think about it, the art of negotiation. And I said, well, Tyson, okay. He said, think about it over the weekend. I said, all right. So, of course, I didn't, because I already had my mind made up. And so that Monday he came to me, he goes, Mom, what do you think? Do you think I could, are you going to let me go ahead and do it? Are we going to send you the money? And I said, no. He said, Mom, you didn't even try. You didn't even think. And I said, Tyson, that's crazy and you're not going to do it. And he looked at me and his little blue eyes got all watery. And he said, you help women find their dreams every day and you are crushing mine. I said, all right, you can ride bulls. So he rode for like 6 years. It was really great. And right before he became pro, actually, he was waiting till he was 18. That's all he needed to do. He earned enough money and all those kinds of things that he had to do. But it was such a drug-infested career in the area that we were in anyway. And I was so proud of him that he made the choice to pull himself out. So, anyway, he's the father of my little granddaughter, Roxy. But, you know, I was able to be a mom for my kids when, you know, there were lots of moms out there, lots of single moms that I knew that I was picking their children up. Like, I would take a car home from school, and I would go back and pick up more kids and take another carload of kids home from school, where their moms were working. I was the only single mom that I knew that was buying new cars, that was sending my kids to college, and that was available. In fact, my kids thought too available. They always like, Mom, why don't you get like a little bit more of a life? But I was very invested in my boys. I didn't want them to fall through the cracks of society just because I was single and having to make a living. And Mary Kay afforded me the opportunity, though I worked. It was flexible where I could work around my boys, and that was important to me. I also had a mom that was sick with cancer for 15 years. And I will never forget the day that we found out she had cancer. It was breast cancer. And my mom, when I got there, was sitting on the couch, and my mom was quiet. I'd seen her cry one other time before. That's when we lost my brother. And she was very strong. But anyway, she was sitting there, and a little tear slipped down. And I said, Mom, you're not going to fight this alone. I'm going to be there for you every step of the way. Whatever we have to do, we're going to make it work. And we fought for 15 years, and I'm glad to say I've never one time hospitalized her. I managed all of her health care. I took care of all the medications. I took care of all the trips that we took to different facilities to fight the disease. And it moved from her breast to her bone to her liver eventually. But we had a great doctor. He never told us we were nearing the end. We told him we don't want to ever hear time. We want to hear hope. And that's what we lived in. And my mom slipped away. She was asleep next to my dad. And I thought, how beautiful. She slipped away next to my dad and woke up in Jesus, next to Jesus. So that was 15 years of a fight. And then after she left, my dad was, older. They'd been together 65 years. He was lost, if you can imagine. They still would hold hands. Like, we would travel to Houston for treatments, and we'd be walking through the airport, and they'd be holding hands, and people would walk by and say, they were so cute. They were so cute. They were so in love. She still sat next to him when he'd drive. They'd get in their pickup, and he'd go somewhere, and she'd scoot over next to him. And they were just precious. So he was lost. My oldest son left his life in Fort Worth and moved in with my dad. And we just surrounded him with love and trips and time, things that we could do for him. And, you never know whose dreams are attached to you. But someone's dream is attached to you. And if you're not bold enough to live that dream, then they won't get to have theirs. And I learned that in a really big way when my mom passed. I said, Daddy, she wanted me to be a national. And we're just not at the place where we're going to be able to make that happen this next year. However, I've never earned a trip. And in her honor, I want to do something big in Mary Kay, and I want to earn a trip for the first time. And that scripture had come to me where David and Bathsheba, they had the son. The son was sick. Y'all know the one I'm talking about? And David walked around, and he was in sackcloth and tore his clothes and wouldn't eat, and just was, the whole time that his son was sick, and he was praying for him and begging God, to save his son. And then when his son died, he got dressed, sat down at the table, told his servants to feed him. And I felt like that was what the Lord was telling me. You did everything you could, because the servants asked, David, you've been walking around like this, and now he's gone, and you're this. And he said, I can't do anything now. He's gone. And so I felt like that's what the Lord was telling me. She's in good hands. Now go honor her memory by doing something big. And so I did. For us, it was big. We'd always kind of flown under the radar. I think I was an elite executive at that time. I've been elite and then not, and then, did those kind of things in Mary Kay. But anyway, I told my dad, I said, okay, I'm going to earn a trip to Rome. And when I earn this trip, are you going to go with me? Now, he's 89 years old, you guys. And he said, well, how much have you done before? And I told him, he said, how much do you have to do? And I told him, he goes, oh, yeah, I'll go. I said, okay. So I told Keegan, I said, Keegan's a musician, and he travels all over Europe and had been over there many times. And so I said, put together a trip, a great trip, and let's include Ireland and Scotland, because my dad had always wanted to travel to Ireland and Scotland. That was his, heritage. His great-grandfather, or his grandfather actually, my great-grandfather, had come from Ireland. And so he'd always wanted to see it. I said, include a trip like that for us, and let's have about 2.5 weeks of travel time. So Keegan did, and we earned the trip. And so I told him, I said, guess what? You're going to Rome. So we put this 89-year-old man on an airplane. They put him in. I was already in Rome. And my sister put him on the plane in Lubbock. And then my cousin met him in Dallas and made sure he got on the right plane in Dallas. And Tyson met up with him in Dallas and flew. They flew, you guys, almost 24 hours between travel, layovers, and all that kind of thing before he got there. But anyway, we were leaving Rome a couple of days later, walking through the airport. My dad had on his cowboy hat and his leather jacket and his jeans and his cane, and he was pretty. He wasn't feeble by any means. And this little Italian woman whistled at him as we were going through the airport. And he strutted just a little bit bigger. So, anyway, it was the most fantastic trip. You guys, a memory I will never forget. Just a memory of a lifetime. And I knew when we were living that memory that we would never pass this way again, and that I had better hold on to every memory. And so we did. We had a blast. And it was just, we were at the Cliffs of Moher. Anybody ever been to Ireland and been to the Cliffs of Moher? It's fabulous, isn't it? Unbelievable. One side you've got the Atlantic Ocean crashing up on these fabulous cliffs. And the other side you've got the green rolling hills of Ireland. And so we've gone about halfway up, my dad and the boys. And I said, Daddy, you probably ought to, hang right here. My gosh, he's 89 years old and he's got a touch of emphysema. I said, well, we're going to go on up. And anyway, we get up there and we go up into a lighthouse, and I turn around, and he's gone all the way up to the top of the Cliffs of Moher. I don't know how he did it, but he did. But anyway, my boys and I go up into the lighthouse, and now we're looking out over all of this. And you can still feel the ocean spray. And the boys are on either side of me, like this. We're all linked up, and we're kind of misty. It's kind of emotional, it's so beautiful. And Tyson said, Mom, can you believe 14 years ago, you were trying to figure out how to feed us. And today we look out over Ireland. And in that moment, every single cancellation, every no-show, every phone call, everything that it took to get us to that point was so worth it, you guys. And watching my dad have that dream, and I didn't know that even, a year later he was going to be gone. He was killed in an accident on his farm. And I'm so thankful for that time that we had together. And, so thankful for the things that Mary Kay provided. There was at one point in our lives when I was a single mom. I mean, I've known abundance now, but I've known poverty too, as a single mom. My directors love it when I tell this story. I don't know why. It's kind of sad, but anyway. We were living in a 2-story house when the boys and I became single. And they loved this house, and they loved their school district. And I didn't want to move them out of the school district because everything else in their life was in shambles. So I decided that I would keep them there, and I'd do whatever it took, and I thought that Mary Kay could provide that for us. But my paycheck wasn't quite enough as a director yet. We were a brand new director. But remember, I guess the directors remember this, I had said earlier in the directors meeting that I was a consultant for 7 years. Well, during that 7 years, I had built 450 customers. What if you had 450 customers? Wouldn't that be fantastic income? It was. And so between the customer base and the director's paycheck, we were able to make it. But we didn't have, we had everything we needed. We didn't always have everything we wanted. And at one point, we had one little light bulb that was living in our house, in a 2-story house. I don't know why the good Lord let it live, but it did. And we would take that light bulb and we would screw it in one room and take it and screw it in another room. If we were wherever we were, that light bulb went. And so anyway, we didn't think much about it. It was handy, I guess. And so this guy, I didn't date very much, but this one guy had been bugging me to date him. So I thought, I'll date him a couple of times maybe. Well, anyway, he came over one night and he walks in the door and first thing he says is, "Can I use your restroom?" And I thought, oh my gosh, And I said, okay. And I started unscrewing the light bulb. And he said, what are you doing? I said, well, if you've got to go to the bathroom, you're going to need a light. And this is the only one we've got. And so it wasn't far until it was Valentine's Day coming up. And for Valentine's Day, he bought me this big box of light bulbs. And on top of it said, "You light up my life." So we had lights for the house. But anyway, I can tell you I've seen all kinds of things in my business. And then when we got ready to make our move to national, I'm going to leave you with 3 tips. And we'll talk a little bit more about them tomorrow, maybe. But I stayed at that place and I became a director, and a very strong director, and had a strong area and all of those things. But I was just not happy. You know how when you're just not happy? I mean, I had gotten to a place where I wasn't content anymore. We were talking about it here at the table, where you're kind of content and then all of a sudden you're not. And the pain of staying the same had gotten greater than what I thought could possibly be finishing national. And so I made the decision, and that's what I want to tell you. There's a point in time when the pain becomes too great, or a need becomes too great, that you make a non-negotiable decision that you're going to accomplish something. And that point came for me 3 years ago in Atlanta at a leadership conference. I was walking through the hall with Kathy Buller, a buddy of mine, and I looked over at her and I said, Kathy, I am so tired of being where I'm at in my business. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not coming back to leadership if I'm not a national. I'm just not coming back. And so that day, I went home. When we left, I went home and I began to work on our national area. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that tomorrow because it wasn't all smooth sailing. But it was a non-negotiable decision that was made. And there's a difference between a decision and a non-negotiable decision. And we'll talk more about that. Second thing was, and I want you to think about this tonight, and this is why I'm telling you this. The second thing is I had to figure out why. Why did I want to be a national sales director? When by all accounts from the outside looking in, I was successful. I was making $18,000 a month. I had lots of flexibility and freedom. So why did I have that desire in my heart? And why was I not happy? What was it that was so big that would make me do that? That would make me move to that? So that's the second thing. I want you to think about what's your why tonight. Why are you doing what you're doing in Mary Kay? What is it that you want? Is it finances? Is it freedom and flexibility? I will tell you, my favorite thing about Mary Kay is I'm a freedom girl. And I love having the freedom to live life the way I want to and the way my boys want to. And that's my favorite part of Mary Kay. So, figure out your why if you can tonight. If you can't, we'll help you tomorrow. But you probably know why. And then the third thing was, what was the activity that it was going to take to get me from where I was to where I wanted to be? And then the question, was I willing to do it? And so that's where I'm going to leave that until tomorrow. But I want you to think about the second thing, and that is whose dream is attached to yours? What's your irons? And who's it for? Thank you.